you're giving a little part of yourself. Anytime that you create, you're giving a part of yourself. I don't think you can create something beautiful without it having part of your heart in it.
Welcome to the Crown Yourself podcast, where together we build your empire and transform your subconscious stories about what's possible for your business, body, and life. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, founder of crownyourself.com, and I'm a master mindset coach, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, known to my clients as a game changer. Each week, you get the conscious leadership strategies you need to help you reign with courage, clarity, and confidence so that you too can make the income and impact you deserve. Imagine this podcast as your royal invitation to step into your full potential and reign in your divine purpose. Your sovereignty starts here, and your reign is now.
Your mission has changed and evolved as we've known each other since 2018. And where are you now? Like, at first there was a vision for your business back then, and now there's a different vision for where you're going. And it seems like everything has just dropped into your heart.
Everything that I've been listening to, now you're going to make me cry. So last year was somewhat of a disaster. It's the first time ever in the history of my business, which I've been in since 2009, so 14 years, that I have had a loss in my business. You know, my business had very steady up, increased revenues. 22 had a little dip in the revenue, and 23 was like, oh shit. Part of it, I think, is the state of the world. Part of it was my mindset. I was like, I don't actually know what I'm here to do anymore. I don't want to make quilts anymore. I don't want to design quilts anymore. I haven't actually been the person in front of my embroidery machine in such a long time making a complete quilt. Sure, I've been doing the little bits and pieces to make the videos, but it's one of those interesting things. I had staff whose purpose was to do the stitching, which meant that I was spending all day sitting in front of the computer doing the designing and writing the instructions, and it was driving me crazy because there is definitely a need for me as a highly creative person to have my hands on some fabric and some thread and some actual colors, not just a color card, right? Not just what I see on the computer screen. And actually be the person who is standing, looking at the design, stitching out, being completely mesmerized by it, because it's a highly mesmerizing, meditative experience to watch a design come into life on the machine. And it wasn't until the middle of last year when I figured, you know what, I am going to design and create a new design collection from beginning to end. Nobody else is even going to know about it. I didn't tell my team what I was doing. They just knew it was a secret project. That's actually the end of it, which is the 3D collection. And I had so much fun. I was like, I don't want to just do flat flowers. I want flowers that jump off the quilt. You can't actually see it. And if you're listening, you can't see it at all, but there are petals on the flower. So if you didn't put the additional petals on, you've got a beautiful design as a regular applique. But I wanted to put more elements in there. So they are actually petals that come out of the quilt. There's literally a 3D effect on there. And so I did the entire thing, and I realized, you know, I'm standing there ironing the fabric. I'm like, wow, I have not stood and ironed fabric in years. And there is something special about standing in front of a piece of fabric and pressing it until it is pristine and flat and wrinkle-free.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been this pressure and this, oh my gosh, I have to get this released. And I imagine that you can remember this whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's like nothing would ever happen fast enough. We couldn't get stuff done fast enough. And this constant pressure. Last year was very different. I had a lot of mindset work to do to raise my vibration, if you like. And when I started working on this 3D collection, I actually started listening to a whole different kind of wisdom. And it's really fascinating, YouTube, what their algorithms do, because having listened to one thing, they put something else in front of you that's of a similar vibe. I was like, wow. And I came across some new people. Lee Harris had a huge impact on me. All of a sudden he's right there and all over the place. I'd never ever heard of him before. He's an amazing intuitive who channels the Z's, and he's English as well. And I was listening to him. I was like, wow, this really is giving me a different outlook on life, which made such a big difference. Sarah Landon was another person that I started listening to, the council, and just all kinds of different, mainly channeled in, in information and wisdom and what have you. And then the whole concept of the transformation that's happening in the world. We might get highly woo-woo here.
Yeah, let's get woo.
It's been fascinating. So I've been working with a master astrologer for the last year and looking at the planets and the effects. And there's big stuff happening with Pluto. And I do not understand it. I just know that, Pluto is moving through the sky and there's interactions between all of the different planets. And we're currently in a space where nobody has actually had the planets in this particular configuration for quite some time, and it's causing all kinds of upset and stuff going on in the world. And then you listen to the other people who are channeling all kinds of information, and they're basically saying the same thing, but just coming at it from a different point of view.
Yeah, that's all that we're all in a relationship with everything,
right?
And the power is like in the next 20 years, especially with Pluto where it's at, like that is a disruptor of systems. And the last time it was in the place that it's at, that was the American Revolution. And I think what we're going to be seeing in the next 20 years is a significant systematic disruption of financial revolution in the way of, and I'm getting truth bombs as I'm saying it, in the way of people finding their sovereignty with money, with business, with community, that is not in the systems that we currently have and have been used to over the past, however long, 100 years, couple hundred years. So there is such a power in being able to listen to your intuition. Isn't it interesting how the algorithm just kind of follows that? Is it the algorithm or is it the quantum realm and the fact that we are channeling what we're creating in our reality? And so thus, is it just the algorithm, or are we also inviting that into our space?
Well, everything that has been surrounding me and everything that I've been listening to has been pulling me more and more into love is the answer to just about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. It's very simple. It's not that it's like, it's a really simple answer.
It really is simple. I heard on one podcast that I listened to, if everyone would love themselves and only the person in front of them, the entire world would be transformed. So from a creative point of view, create for yourself and your family. I kind of embrace, your close family and friends, they're kind of a part of your unit, right? So I think creatively, when people love to create for other people, right? So you create for the people that are in your world, who are in your environment. So keep doing that and create one more. In this case, hearts, I'm thinking we have our new Awakened Heart collection. Create one more and gift it to somebody who's outside of your current sphere of influence, and see how the world transforms. Because I think that the act of creating something for somebody who is outside of your sphere of influence, who you probably will never meet, you probably will never ever know their name, you don't know where they live, you don't know where they come from, you know absolutely nothing about them, but your heart, literally your heart, going into the creation of whatever, being passed on to this other person. It's a method for connecting hearts, and it's completely invisible.
It's the there's a great book called Moving Your Invisible Boundaries, on the invisible matrix of our hearts that actually connect us. And that the ability to reach. And I love what you said about using your family as your creative team. Like, never more was that more manifest than last year, when my husband, my mom, and I all sat down and we got very clear on what we wanted in our dream home, because we're going to move her with us to Texas. And we sat down and we practiced the skill set of, like, you get clear on what you want, you be very focused on what you want. I know you've heard me say that a million times. And we wrote it down and just let it go. And we have the list framed, because we got everything we wanted on that list. And it really shows the power of when two or more are gathered. Like, there is power in that creative focus and unity in moving forward. So I think it's really interesting how you found that unity within your family, and then you let some employees go and downsize your company as far employee wise. So what did you find was the disunity that made you want to get smaller to go bigger?
Practically revenue. You know, it got to the point where I am so done with struggling, and cutting costs is absolutely necessary right now. So on the one hand, there's a contraction happening, but on the other hand, there is such freedom, because now I can breathe. You know, it releases the pressure. And there's like an energetic shift that's happened as well.
Yeah.
You know, working out of my home and having energy in my home, and saying, you know what, I don't like the energy in my home anymore. I need to release it and let it go. It's kind of opened up something amazing. And we're really right at the beginning of it.
And I love that. I love that we're just at that, like, because there's the beginning of the idea, and then there's the beginning of, it's almost like that newborn, and being, there's the idea, then there's the phase of, gestation, and, the pregnancy of the idea. And then now it's birth, it's tactile, it's real, it's in your hands. And now you're moving forward in after that contraction. And I think that contractions are the way that we actually, like, so often we view contractions or dips in revenue. Like, I can tell, like, your 2022 and 2023 mirrored mine. So
I've had just so many people have that same thing. It's like there's been some giant contraction happening. But I think that certainly for me, 2024 energy is radically different.
Yes. Yeah. God. Contractions. And I'm like, I know this is necessary, and I'm really grateful for the 2024 energy, because I feel like this big expansiveness, but it's coming from the lessons that had to happen in 2023 to be embodied and to, like, land in order to then shift who you are to then be the one who's going to be able to receive the expansiveness.
Yes. So, something, so talking this contraction, and brings to mind Jasmine, who literally just turned 18 last week. And so I've been looking at her baby pictures.
I mean, she's a grown-up now. That's so amazing, though.
She's an adult now. But what is so remarkable is looking at the baby pictures, literally Jasmine right outside of the womb. One of my friends at the time was a photographer, and she was allowed, Jasmine was born by scheduled cesarean. It's very orderly, unlike her sister. but we were able to have the entire thing photographed. And so I literally have a picture of Jasmine fresh out. And I've just been looking at these pictures in this last week, and I haven't looked at them for quite some time. But, when you birth something, whether it's human or an idea, and it's this tiny little thing and somewhat, dirty and what have you, it's barely there, especially in the idea realm. And then when you fast forward 18 years and you see, wow, she is beautiful. She's amazing. She's in the top 10% of her class.
She's got big goals and big ambitions and like what she wants to create and has clarity. And I love the fact, because I know that you started your business as a single mother, like raising two girls. And, it wasn't easy because also your oldest daughter had a stroke very young. Like, so you have been this example of entrepreneurship and creativity and sovereignty of being able to create your own reality. What do you think that has, how do you think that's guided your daughters?
On the one hand, it's kind of interesting because Jasmine, especially the little one, I don't think she actually recognizes what happens here when she's at school. I had a really interesting conversation with her when she was quite a bit younger. I think she was still in elementary school, and I'd gone to pick her up or something, and the conversation went along the lines of, well, what are you going to do today? And I was like, well, I've got work to do. And she didn't have a concept of when she was at school, I was busy working because I was at home. She just thought I was at home sewing. So that's been kind of interesting.
Well, especially because your girl just turned 18, and there's so many things that I look back on, even just as a mom for the past 6 years, where I'm like, especially with Colton, because of the time when he was born. I saw a baby picture. I was like, oh my gosh, just 2 years ago, he was this little itty bitty thing. And now he's this toddler with opinions, and really strong-willed opinions, which is great for leadership. It's challenging as a parent. And
yes,
the beautiful thing though is like seeing that, and then also having that when you're present in the moment, there are sometimes that it's just survival. They're like, let's be honest, like sometimes as a parent, and I can only imagine as a single mom, like I'm every day grateful for Spike because I have no idea how I'd be able to do it without him. But the beauty of that resiliency that's cultivated. So how did your ability to be present with both your business and with your kids and with all the challenges and all the struggles and all of the shifts in the world going on, how did you navigate that presence?
Right at the whole reason that I started my business. So I came out of the corporate world after being in the academic world. I got my bachelor's degree. I went on to get a PhD in theoretical computer science. I spent actually only 2.5 years in corporate England, as it were. Came over here, spent no more than 3 years in corporate America, and got married, got pregnant, had a baby. When I got, and because my immigration status at the time, I couldn't work. We wound up moving just after I got pregnant, and I wasn't able to work, which I thought was brilliant because my brain had completely reorganized itself, and like the whole analytical thing was like, bye-bye, gone, see you later. And so I was extremely fortunate to be able to spend the first 6 years whilst I was married, with my older daughter, and then Jasmine came along as a stay-at-home parent. And I was doing a little bit of teaching on the side, but it was by no means a full-time job. It was, maybe 3 hours a week here, 3 hours a week there. So when I got divorced, it was a case of, okay, I actually need to figure out how to earn a living so that I can support my family, my 2 girls who were 6 and 2 when I got divorced. And the thought of going back into corporate America made me think, you may as well just shoot me now. That is such a horrible thought. I don't want to put my girls in daycare. I don't want somebody else to be seeing their moments as they're growing up. I want to be there with them. And so my 2 criteria for how am I going to earn a living are, number one, I need to be able to be there for my girls. They are the most important thing in my life. So being there for them whenever they need me is number one. And number 2 is I need to do something that actually nurtures my soul. Being in corporate America did not do that. The thought of sitting in a cubicle for 8+ hours every day was like not happening. And having made that decision, like the entire universe conspired to put me in front of people who were the exact right person to get me to the next point, or to introduce me to the person that I really needed to meet. And all kinds of serendipity happened, and my business started and my business grew. And Heather, my older daughter, had a stroke when she was 14, the week before spring break of her 8th grade year. How women, especially who have jobs outside of the home, how they manage when a child has a medical emergency, I have no idea. But when Heather, I've never been so grateful for my business, because when Heather had her stroke, there was no question about the fact that I don't have any time for my business right now. I need to be in the hospital with Heather. And for quite a long time, the most important thing was Heather has a doctor's appointment, and no matter what, that's what is, that's the highest priority. The thing with the neurosurgeons, they're kind of interesting people. They're very godlike,
Yeah,
highly skilled, saved a life, but you don't call them and make an appointment to go see them on your timeline. You wait for them to call you, and the receptionist or whatever will call you and say, Dr. Nakaji will see you at this time on this day. There's no negotiating on that time and day, really. So knowing what the priority is, and the priority has been the girls. There's a volleyball game on, and so I will be there sitting at the volleyball game, watching the kid play volleyball. So it's what's actually been really interesting, and I think part of my mindset last year, it was knowing that Jasmine is going to graduate from high school this year. Heather is going to graduate from college this year, but Heather has a plan. She has, since she had her stroke, she is on course for medical school. There's been a few bumps in the road, but she is on course for medical school. Jasmine, on the other hand, has not had a plan until relatively recently. But my original intention for creating my business is to be available for my girls. Well, my girls don't actually need me anymore in the same way, right? Oh. That I am going to be an empty nester very soon. And why am I in business now? I had to kind of re-identify or reinvent why I'm actually in business now, because the original intention no longer valid.
Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful awareness, because there are so many variable factors that go into, seeing where your business is and how it's going to navigate. Like, what season is it in? Is it in its infancy, where you're going to have to be a lot more present with it? You're going to be hands-on. You're going to be doing the things. You're going to be making the sales pages and all the things. And then, it grows into a teenager, grows into adulthood. But then there's also, where are you? Where's the world at? Where's your team at? What struggles are they dealing with? What personal struggles are you dealing with? So being able to look at this whole wheel of multiple different types of issues or prospective challenges that always cause for these little micro realignments, and making sure that you're realigned as much as the business is in alignment with what it is that you want to create in this world. And I love the fact that you brought it back to touching and being present and tactile with the creativity and the fabric and the movement of it and the building from start to finish, and versus like, oh, I'm just going to build and scale this even bigger, and really finding what it is that you love. Like one of my dear friends who came on the podcast, she scaled her business from 0 to 30 million. And then COVID hit. She had 5 locations in Los Angeles and those weren't open. And Tirza Shirai, she was on the podcast and she shared how, like, when, in the transition, she realized that now that she started the Venusian School of Business, how, you can have a housekeeper, you can have support. Like there's a whole methodology of like when people start a business, it's like first you need to get your VAs and you need to build your team and you need to scale and you need to grow. But there is a presence that comes from like, I'm choosing to care for my own home. Like instead of like, I'm going to delegate this and delegate this and delegate this and delegate this, which is fine. And what is that simplicity? What is that touch that you need inside your home, on your business? And like for me, one of the things that I had to realize was I deeply missed a deep care with my customers, with my clients, with being really fully just in it with them, because of like I delegated myself out of so many roles, and that, which was fine, but I realized how deeply I missed that part. And Cancer's in my 11th house of relationships and and long-term relationships. And I'm like, I love my clients. Like, I love the fact that, 4 or 5 years later after we met, or I think now 6, yeah, never math in public. But that we're able to still connect and just like be able to see each other's dreams come to life and, just celebrate each other and be in that space. And like, that's what I love about business and being able to deeply, deeply care. And when I brought that back, I was like, oh, that was the missing piece that I had that had made me successful in the past. And I didn't know how to delegate myself into that role without delegating myself out of some of the tactile doings of my business. And it was navigating that now I'm like, oh, rocket fuel is happening in 2024.
Yeah, the whole scaling a business, when you realize that the reason that you're in business, somebody else is now doing it for you, is like you have to stop and think about, is that really how I want to do this? Because I've just given somebody else the best aspect of my job and my business. I've just given it away. And I can design all day long sitting in front of my computer, but I miss out on the best part, which is the actual making of it. I actually think that the end result is really not the joy. The joy is not found in the end result. The joy is found in all of the itty bitty little pieces of fabric and finding that exact right thread color and seeing all of the stitches come together. It's like the journey is so much more important than the end result. Sometimes I don't actually like the end result, but the journey of getting there is the satisfaction.
Did you find that it was, because I know joy has been a common theme with you, and with the joy of your girls leaving the home, being an empty, like the joy, like there's a success, but there's also a grieving of, what was and that space. And how did you navigate between the two? Because I know for me, it was the grief of certain things in my past that I've been so used to having in a home as far as like that would be considered negative, like chaos, are no longer present.
I can't remember. I don't know if you know that I actually sold my house and moved.
I guess you did. Yeah.
Yes, which was kind of unexpected and happened very suddenly. So I guess that would have been the summer of 22.
Yeah, we were working together then. And I remember that was it, just happened like that.
Yeah, I literally went on vacation to Sweden to visit my family, sat on a rock and was like, I need to sell my house. And Heather had been gone for 2 years at that point. So it was just me and Jasmine, and we're rattling around in this gigantic house, which, yes, it had my dream studio in there. But when Jasmine was with her dad, I was like, this is way too big. And so we kind of started the contraction then. We were originally planning on moving to Colorado, and that just was an idea that came and eventually I figured was not the right idea. But interestingly enough, when I was looking for a place to rent, knowing that I wanted to be somewhere temporarily whilst Jasmine finished high school, it boiled down to this one house that we're actually in. This is the only house that I went to look at. And Jasmine and I came over on a Saturday morning and we're like, yep, this is the one. And it was kind of a very easy transition. It's actually less than a mile away from the house that the very first house that I bought when I came to the United States, which is where the house I was in when I met Christopher, and Heather decided to come into the world. But it's almost like, when the universe is guiding you. I have met so many extraordinary people by living in this house. It's that I would not have met otherwise. There's actually a gym that I go to. It's a 0.4 miles in that direction. I can walk there. And that place has changed my life. Working from home and in a business where I have customers all over the world, but I very rarely actually get to meet them. Up until COVID, I didn't really know any of them. COVID, in some respects, was a gem for my business because we recognized very early on that a lot of our customers are retired and they were homebound. Their families couldn't get to them. They couldn't get to their families. Nearly all of my customers are women. A lot of them were looking after husbands who didn't necessarily have the greatest health. And so we decided, we're going to get together every Friday on Zoom. You're welcome to come along and we'll talk about machine embroidery and quilting. If you just want to come and sit in a room where there's smiling people having a conversation, come along. If you want to participate in the conversation, then you're welcome to do that too. But working at home, I typically could get through an entire week without stepping outside of my front door and seeing other people. And this gym that I go to, Fit Society, is I go at least 3 times, sometimes 4 times, every now and then 5 times a week. And not only am I in the best shape ever, building muscle, losing weight, body fat percentage is getting
looking fabulous,
really good, but I have met such good friends there.
Yeah.
And it's just been this really fascinating, just a really fascinating, because there was a part of me that was like, why am I moving? Why did I just sell my house?
Yeah.
But the world opened up, and it also opened up in that I can step out of my front door and walk for up to 5 miles through neighborhood parks, which I live in a big city, right?
Yeah.
And just being able to get out and see trees and the green of the grass and be in the sunshine. Me moving my body is what gets my creativity really juiced up. So being able to get out on a daily basis into a beautiful little environment has done wonders, and be able to listen to inspiring wisdom whilst I'm out there as well at the same time.
Yeah. And I think it's that's creating the space and looking at how to live in harmony in the dance of life. Because I know for me, if I'm on my Zoom all day and haven't stepped outside to say hi to my donkeys, I just I'm like, what is life? Like just being able to walk outside, and it's so crazy that I can hike in my backyard now. Like it's this space of, this in technology is great and it serves a beautiful purpose for connection. And it also can leave people feeling so depleted. And what I've seen, especially last year, doing a ton of speaking gigs, was that people are just desperately starving for real in life, in person, heartfelt connection. And I think as we enter into this new age, we're going to be feeling other people's hearts as best, and we're going to be leaning into that, into the heart space, rather than into like, this is the box that I'm supposed to be in. This is my tiny little Zoom box, and allowing it, but versus the expansiveness that is all around.
I think connecting online is still going to be really important.
Yes.
Because you're in Texas, I'm in Arizona. Getting in a room so that we could be face to face has some challenges attached to it. We have quite a few customers in Australia. One day, I hope that I'll be able to go and see them. But for right now, we can connect on Zoom. But one of the things that I am hoping to do is create more opportunities for in-person, let's just get together and stitch. Not necessarily a class, although there's probably going to be some element of that included, but let's just come together and do some stitching. Let's create something beautiful that we can offer up to somebody who's outside of our immediate community and our immediate sphere of influence, who may be having a hard time. A mom whose kid is in the hospital, I have personal experience that can be a super traumatic life event. Let's just offer up a piece of our heart and embed it in a physical thing that we have created, and pass that physical thing on to the next person who can also somehow, don't actually know how it works, but the gifting is not just, you can see the physical thing, but the gift also includes the essence of your heart that's going with it, which I think is an infinite capacity. So you could make 6 million of these little heart pockets, and every single one of them would have that essence going with it. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And I love the fact that it's a devotion. Like it's a devotion to humanity. It's a devotion to having it be made by someone who just cares enough to make to go that one extra step to just show and demonstrate that they care. And that's really been this word that's been coming up of care. And also, what do you see? Like, because somebody could say, oh, I love this design, I love this concept, let's commercialize it, let's produce 6 million of these, give them to all the moms who have kids in the hospitals. Is that ever a route that you feel like you would go?
There is an idea, and it looks something along the lines of there's two different possibilities here, and maybe the possibilities coexist together. So I know there are people out in the world who do beautiful work, who are done with making the big things because they already have a quilt on every bed. They've already given a quilt to every single person that they know, but they still want to be able to create, right? It's the joy of creating that is life-giving, not so much the actual finished thing. So what if these people were given an opportunity to create, I'm going to go with these hearts because this is what we have right now, but what if these people are given an opportunity to create hearts that have been paid for? So somebody comes along and says, I'd like one of these. I'd like it in these colors. I like this particular design, and I'd like it to be sent to whoever. And so Priscilla, I actually have a specific person in mind when I say Priscilla, but Priscilla is on the list of people that says, I'm willing to make these. So Priscilla gets that order. She puts a little heart into it. She gets her embroidery machine out. She has the right colors and this, that, and the other. She makes it. She sends it off. And that same person who said, I'd like this to be sent to a specific person, we also make a copy of it and send and put that towards the gifted hearts, the hearts that will be gifted to whichever organization, whichever woman. So there's that as people in their homes being part of an organization that is, it is a commercial enterprise, and it's feeding the souls of the people who are doing the stitching, right? On the other hand, there's another idea that says, what if we could get a room full of multi-needle embroidery machines, and what if we could train up single moms who are trying to get on their feet, train them up in utilizing these machines, give them a place where they can come and work on a part-time basis. We would provide childcare for them if that was needed. But they know that they can come to work at this place on a part-time basis. Maybe we have some kind of coaching in place where we help them get back on their feet financially. We help them get back on their feet, in their living accommodations. And maybe we help them set up in a business, or we help them get a job. But they know that they've got this guaranteed time where they come and, do the part-time work that fits into their schedule. And so we've got, there's still a customizable commercial end product, which is somebody buys it, we send it to a very specific person, and we make one gift, and we're helping these women, young women, to get their lives back in order.
It reminds me of Tom's, the shoes.
I just read Blake Mykowski's book, Start Something That Matters. Yes. And the whole idea behind, for every shoe that we sell, we'll gift a pair of shoes to somebody who needs them. Yeah.
I think that there's such a way that we can bring the joy and the fun of giving into our business without it crossing our boundaries. Because what I see is a lot of good-hearted entrepreneurs. They have such a good heart and they want to give and they want to give, but then they give by hiring people in positions who are in need of a job and desperate or in a struggle, and not necessarily are those people going to be the best fit for actually growing the company. Just like kind of like you wouldn't hire somebody who is like down on their luck to be like, oh, babysit my baby. I know you need some extra money. Here's my child, like my most precious thing in the world. So it's understanding like, where is the boundary between charity and being able and service, so that you can serve people who are in need and provide them the space and have those boundaries as well in your business. How have you navigated that?
We're still to some extent figuring that out, because we are definitely a for-profit business. I have, rent to pay. I have 2 kids in college. And I think that there are so many people out in the world who can benefit by the act of creating something and gifting what they've made to somebody who just needs to hear the words, I love you, I've never met you before, but just want to let you know that I'm here and I care. And this is just a little token of that. I think we still have a fair amount to learn about how to bring this all together, especially as a growing organization. There's definitely places to learn. I think that Tom's even figured out that the whole shoe donating thing had some challenges, and I don't know that they actually do it anymore. I think they kind of transformed the way that they do that. But my experience so far, we've had 2 Christmas stocking projects for the last couple of years, and from the people who have participated and made the stockings, the first year in 2022, we gifted them to ASA Now, which is a foster organization here in Arizona. So we gifted the stockings to the children. Last year, in 2023, we gifted them to Phoenix Children's Hospital, the children who were actually in the hospital for Christmas. The people who make the stockings have sent letters and cards saying, thank you for allowing me to participate in this project. It means the world to me. On one level, it's not so much the recipient of the gift that is receiving the benefit. I think the person who is creating the gift in the first place is getting a whole lot of benefit. It's almost selfish, It's almost a selfish act to make the Christmas stocking or the heart or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It just happens to have a really nice end result that reminds me of somebody else.
Yeah, it reminds me, I love what you said about it being selfish, because I do think there's that, the paradigm that the gift of doing something kind, an act of compassion, it benefits, not like there's been studies shown, it benefits not only the person who receives it, it benefits the person who has done the act and the kind service or act. It also benefits those who witness it. Like there's an elevation of a vibration of just love and generosity that happens from that space. And I read this amazing book last year called Seed Money. And anytime there's a gift, whether it's, for me, whether it's a gift of just a connection or a referral or money or whatever type of gift, I always say, like, I always plant that seed money, and I just picture it growing and fostering this beautiful garden of karmic reward coming back. And also, it reminds me of that scene in Friends where Phoebe was like, giving is not, I'm giving, I'm being so, it's unselfish. And then she's trying to find any sort of way that giving is not selfish, but they're like, no, it benefits you. Oh, you're feeling good about it. Oh, no, I don't. She's like, no, I shouldn't feel good about this. So the ability to, like, the giving is an act of selfishness, but is selfishness ultimately bad? Like, the word selfishness just describes, like, it literally just means characteristics of the self. Well, if giving is a characteristic of myself, that's something I want to have. So yes, I'm happy to have that as selfish, because that is a characteristic that I aspire to have in my reality.
That's a really interesting perspective on it. Yes, I actually love that. You're giving a little part of yourself. Anytime that you create, you're giving a part of yourself. I don't think you can create something beautiful without it having part of your heart in it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, it hasn't been scientifically studied at the level of creativity in giving, but there is studies as far as like pregnancy in women, is that your children, their DNA is, when you choose to birth and give life and like create a life inside of you, it stays with you as a woman for at least a decade, if not longer. Like, they haven't measured the amount of time, but your children's DNA is literally a part of you for pretty much they're assuming life. The hypothesis is life. They've studied up to 10 years. The fact that there's a ripple effect of creation, and I don't think it's just in the act of actually having a child. I think it can be in the energy of that creative energy of the birthing of any idea through you.
I know for my girls, they're 18 and 22 right now. I still feel like they are a part of me. They're a huge part of me.
Mm-hmm.
We are one. If there's ever an experience of oneness, I would say we are definitely one. We're one unit. We might be three individual human beings, but I certainly think of as one unit. Jasmine, I would imagine, probably has something to say about that because she is so desperate to leave the nest and
Well, I understand that being an 18-year-old girl. So having been one myself, it's like there's that calling for independence, but they're also, I have to say, having my mother back with us is like game changing. And also being able to see her in her next phase creating her art again and being able to do that and be that example for my boys of like that you can renew your life at any point in your life. You are not beholden to the identity even of who you were 5 minutes ago. So the question is, who do you want to be? And so who are you becoming as you grow this heart-led mission?
Oh my goodness. I'm becoming an awake human being, connected to my higher power, connected to my higher self. And I have to say that in the last year, I've been like, what the heck is that? But becoming an awake human being, as in connected to my heart, connected to the vast consciousness that is all around us, that is striving for humanity surviving and rising up to the next level together.
How would you like to see the world that you're creating for your girls?
So Lee Harris, he has a thing called rebirth. And one of his questions at the end of that is, what do you most want to create in and for the world? And it doesn't have to be something that's actually feasibly possible. But what is on my heart is I want to create in and for the world, love in the hearts of all people. Because back to this concept that I mentioned earlier, if you can love yourself and love just the one person in front of you, then we could transform the whole world. If I can love myself and offer a part of my heart up to people with my creations, then that has the possibility of transforming the whole world.
I love that. I think sometimes, especially as a parent, it's really easy to put others first, put your kids first, and really love on them. But finding that self-love, how did you find that within yourself, especially through the challenge of financial dips?
Realizing that going out for a walk is an amazingly abundant thing. Being able to bask in the sunshine is an amazingly abundant thing. I have everything that I need to live a very happy life, a very happy and comfortable life. The very simple things, are the things that make a difference, I think.
One of my favorite questions is, how many ways am I abundant right now? How many ways are you abundant right now? Currently, it's with eggs, surplus of eggs. 9 chickens, 9 eggs a day. We have 2 men. I'm giving them away. I'm like, please come take organic eggs. So currently eggs are in massive abundance. But being able to recognize just how many ways is abundance present right now? How many ways are we safe and supported? And I think because our brains are so wired, especially after challenges and struggles and traumas and shock traumas, like children being in hospitals, and like this fear and this need for Maslow's beginning of its hierarchy of safety and having that foundation. What do you put your trust in to ensure that first level is taken care of, that you are safe, that you, no matter what financial highs, lows, what are you putting your trust in, and how did you discover your own trust?
Recognizing that there is a whole horde of invisible support all around me all of the time. I have a mantra every time I get in the car. I have a little angel prayer that goes along the lines of, angels and guides, I ask that you escort me safely, guide me and protect me today and every day, especially whilst I'm out and about. And I recently, both of the girls had incidents in their vehicles. Both of them stayed safe, but, they had scary things. And so I said, you know what, just repeat that. Whenever you get in the car, just ask for that support from the unseen realm. And who knows if it's actually there or if it's just a figment of my imagination. I choose to believe that there is great support there for me.
So much more support than we have the ability to even fathom.
And it's really fascinating once you ask for what you need, how fast it can actually materialize in the physical world.
There's a great book called Aphorisms of Yoga. And one of the things that I recently read, because I did a podcast on it, was that success happens rapidly, unless there's like past karma. But success happens rapidly when massive action is applied. And it's like, well, what specifically is that massive action? Because so many people are like, I'm busy, I'm doing all the things. I think massive action is when you really are dialed in to what is it that I need, claiming that what I need, claiming what you want and what you desire, and then choosing that next courageous step in every single one, like you moving homes just after a moment in Sweden, sitting on a rock, just saying, I need to move, I need to sell my house. Like these moments of just choosing that next right best step and seeing how fast things are just manifesting into your reality with speed, for demanding, for claiming and saying, this is what I need for that next step to have that speed come to me. And I think so many people spin their wheels with busyness of all the pressure that busyness allows for people to have, versus surrendering the pressure and focusing on only those few things that just truly are the ones that move the needle.
I think it all boils down to actually deciding about what it is that you really want. And once you have got that clear decision made in your mind and kind of stated it out loud for the universe, whether that's just standing in your living room saying it to nobody that's visible, just making that decision is the big needle maker, needle mover.
And then the recommitment of that decision. I mean, y'all heard it today here first. Sarah said, make a decision. And that's like what my TED talk was on, was like how most leaders, we actually suck as humans. Like, we're not trained to make decisions. We are told from childhood, oh, that's wrong, or oh, that oh, you don't really want that, or just like, oh, that's, especially when a toddler is like, here's my decision, I want this, and we're like, that's really not the best thing for you, because you're trying to keep them safe as a parent and as a guide. But what that does as they grow older is like, that's, it creates a questioning of decision making. And so there's making the decision, but then there's also the commitment every day to backing that decision, no matter what your circumstances are that are showing up in your present reality. And so how did you come to have a level of decisiveness where you trust, lean in, decide, and then just make the next best decision right after that?
For the longest time as a young child, the thing that I can remember my mother telling me is, oh, you don't want that. Whenever I made a decision that I wanted something, whether it was a cookie or a bag of chips or, something seemingly insignificant, and she'd say, oh, you don't really want that. And my decision-making capability kind of took a very large hit for, literally for decades. To some extent, when life is on the line, it's a lot easier to make a decision. Sometimes you just have to do it. Get ground it into your body and say, okay, what exactly is this? What is my best decision? What am I going to decide? And literally just make a decision. Whether it's the right one or not, who knows? But sometimes I think I definitely spend so much time waffling about, do I really want to do that? Do I not want to do that? Is there a better option out there? And sometimes you just have to say, this is what I'm going to do. Made the decision to sell my house. Everybody that I needed kind of appeared. The same when I decided to go into business, everybody that I needed appeared in front of me. What I thought was really interesting, having sold the house, the realtor's assistant and I were chatting on the phone once we'd tied up all of the paperwork. And she said, you know, Sarah, of all of the houses that we've had on our books, yours is the only one that's actually sold. Because I decided I'm selling my house.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the steps that I need to do to actually go about that process. And I actually announced it in a very public way.
Yeah, and there's a great book by Stephen Pressfield called The Warrior Ethos that is, it basically says like the public shame of like going back on your word in Sparta was just like, that was worse than death. So people like the warrior, that internal warrior that we have, like when we put that out there, if you have that commitment to like the decision, and decision literally means to decide, is really badass because it means to kill or cut off other options. And so when you kill or cut off other options suddenly, and you post it on social media, and then your integrity is on the line for like, am I sticking with this decision? And you're like, I better, because the public shame would just be unbearable. So being able, like, it's a warrior mindset, but with an open, loving heart, that I see you growing this business and serving with such power and such devotion. It's been such an honor to have coached you through the years and to see this dream of yours that I just now is going to impact so many people, to see that like open the heart of so many mothers who are struggling. That touches my heart, and I just get to witness it, and it's such an honor. So I would love to switch into a little bit of rapid fire to wrap this up.
Okay.
Even though I could talk to you like all day. Who is your favorite female character in a book or a movie, and why? And I know exactly what you're going to say.
Elizabeth Bennet and Pride and Prejudice.
Now I know why. Well, why is she your favorite?
I just love the love story of Darcy and Elizabeth. I actually resonate a whole lot with Elizabeth. She's a little bit of a rebellious, outspoken, cares deeply for the people that she loves. And I just love the romantic Mr. Darcy has finally figured out which way is really upright. I can't tell you how many Pride and Prejudice variations I have read over the years. I kind of get stuck in them. I can seriously read like 4 of them in a weekend.
Okay, what woman would you want to trade places with, to be in her body, to live her life just for a day, alive now or alive in her time?
I actually would love to experience life through your eyes, with your boys and your husband in your new home and all of your sparkliness. I think that just would be so much fun.
I am so honored. So, wow. Out of all the people, what is your morning routine to set you up for success?
I wake up, I'm on my winter hours, so it's 5:30. Summer hours, it's 5:10. Summer, I kind of switch things around a little bit, because if I'm going to get out of the house, I have to do it by 6 o'clock. Otherwise, it's too hot. So wake up, take the dog out. I actually climb back into bed and do some reading or listening to some kind of a spiritual podcast or, book, something that's thoughtful. And I write in my journal. It's typically affirmations. I find I need the daily reminders, and just really sitting with that. Sometimes I will call on my angels and do an angel reading. Winter months, then I eat, and I usually read whilst I'm eating breakfast. And then I go on a walk. Summer months, I go out on a walk first and eat second, and then home, shower, get all dressed up for the day, and get to work. But I typically spend about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour with my journal, with my reading, with my listening. And I'm currently walking about 3.5 miles a day. And it's not just the physical outdoors. It's that's my time when I listen to something inspirational, motivational, educational. So yeah, that's my morning routine. Actually, so probably the best part of 2 hours, if not longer, is mine. I actually really do not like to be interrupted at any point during that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I there's a rule in my house that there is no talking to mommy until she has properly had her tea, at least.
Yeah.
It used to be coffee, now it's tea. But what is your evening routine to set you up for success?
I endeavor to actually be in bed by 9 o'clock. It depends kind of what's been happening. A lot of the time I will take a bath, sit in the bathtub for 30 minutes, read a book, and just soak. A lot of the time, Epsom salts, bubble bath, just kind of let the muscle aches out. Generally just quiet. Clean my teeth, get into bed, read some more. I've recently been using the FLFE, Focused Life Force Energy. I've been doing a 10-day or 15-day trial, and they have a boost. So I've been using that boost for the last 10 minutes, and then the light goes off and I've been sleeping. And I've recently also been listening to deep sleep music, various different frequencies for cleansing the aura and the chakras, and all kinds of different energies, seeing which ones actually will help. And I've been sleeping a lot better since listening to the music and having the Focus Life Force energy.
What do you define to be your queendom? Take it however you want it.
I think my community of stitchers that are willing to go on these creative journeys with me and challenge themselves by learning how to create something new. We are not about bog standard ordinary machine embroidery and quilting in the hoop. We are about how can we do something different that's not been done before. The 3D flowers, I don't think anybody has done those before on a quilt. Quilting a queen size quilt in the hoop on your embroidery machine as a single piece. I don't think anybody had ever done that before. And so I think me in my queendom is with my community of people who are willing to come along for what sometimes seems like a totally crazy ride whilst we try out doing something different.
Sarah, how do we find you? How do we work with you? How do we take part and serve and support this amazing heart-led mission that you're bringing into the world?
meaningoflifedesigns.com will get you to my website, and search for Meaning of Life Designs on Facebook or Instagram. You will find me. We are launching the Awakened Heart Project, and so we will have that in big letters on the homepage at Meaning of Life Designs. And there's opportunities to join us in our stitching efforts. And another thing that I'm really wanting to do is invite the people who aren't quilters, who don't own an embroidery machine, who just want to see what's it like to actually come and stitch. You can go to places like As You Wish and paint a pot.
Yeah.
That I think somewhere in the mix of things, there's a Meaning of Life Designs stitch out place where somebody could walk in off the street and say, I just want to make a heart today. Never seen an embroidery machine before. That's one of the things that I love about machine embroidery, is that I can teach just about anybody how to do it, as long as there is a desire to learn. And I think it would be really cool for groups of people who don't necessarily want to make quilts or things like that, on a regular basis, but would say, you know what, I want to spend an afternoon being creative today.
Sarah, I love your mission. I love the crown on your head. I love you so much. And it has been such an honor knowing you and seeing you evolve. And I have one last question for you, because I know that you have coached with me, you've coached with others. How has coaching served you in your evolution?
Having somebody else who can see through my bullshit and call me on it is just priceless.
As always, my fellow sovereigns, own your throne, mind your business, because your reign is now.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If what you heard resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and start creating a bigger impact now by sharing this with a friend. Just by doing that one simple act of kindness, you are creating a royal ripple to support more people in their sovereignty. And if you're not already following on social media, connect with me everywhere at crownyourself.now for more inspiration. I am so excited to connect with you in the next episode. And in the meantime, go out there and create a body, business, and life that rules. Because today, you crown yourself.